Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of CarX Drift Racing 2 with Brogue Hammer Auto House. Here on the screen you're going to see my qualifying runs for a top 32 tournament or competition that I entered into. This was one of the top 32s where you had to have under 600 horsepower, so that explains the vehicle I'm using. I had detuned it slightly to make it under 600 so that I could make this competition possible. But I had a few requests from some people that wanted a top 32 battle video, and this pretty much goes from start to finish. All my qualifying runs, first, second, and third rounds, all the way up to the final four, and then the championship race where I take home the final win. So as we get in here, guys, I wanted to do some random kind of tips and tricks here when it comes to chasing these drivers, putting down lead runs, and everything like that. So to start off, when you're putting down your lead run, like these qualifying runs that you're watching, it really makes for the best competition to try to run the smoothest line. You don't want to run a line that is just going to mess up your chaser or whoever's battling against you. It's just not a great way to win. I know some people kind of pull handbrakes in weird spots and like come really slow around certain corners or things like that, but in reality, we just want a good competition on all ends. Being able to chase well, you need a good lead run in order for that to work. So there will be a few examples in the top 32 battle that I have against an AE86. He obviously didn't have the right setup for the track and couldn't get some consistent lines. So I knocked him out pretty fast early on, but he was nearly impossible to chase. I mean, there's not really much you can do when the lead driver just doesn't have a good lead. But that being said, they usually have less points than everybody else. I did qualify second place in this, just behind that leader by a couple hundred points. And here's the first chase run behind the AE86. So I did match whatever tire the vehicle I'm chasing has. I typically match that tire. So he was on semi-slicks on the AE86, so I put semi-slicks on this car so that I could stick with him. That's tip number one for sure, is make sure you have the same tires. If you have a sport tire or something less than what he has, it's going to be really hard to keep up, even with different power amounts and everything like that. The tires just make a huge difference in the speed. So that's tip number one. Tip number two is to not let a couple errors like fluster you. So you'll see in many of these runs when I'm chasing, I either lose control or the car grips up and straightens or whatever. And the most important part is being as close to the lead driver as you possibly can while being in drift. So if you fall way back, basically you just want to take all the angle out of the car and fly up on him as fast as you can so that you can get on his door, get those extra points for chasing. And this is the, I believe it's called the RDS tandems. So you can't actually, if you hit them, it won't actually give you like a incomplete. Whereas there's the other top 32 tournament where as soon as you tap them or touch them, it'll give you a complete, runs over kind of a deal. So anyways, I beat that guy, the AE86, by quite a bit. And here's my next battle, going up against a BMW P30. This guy was running just the sport tires. So in turn, I put sport tires on the BMW I was running. I believe on this first run, I had a pretty good chase behind him. This guy ran a great smooth line. He was really fun to chase, probably one of my better battles for being a top 16 battle. You typically don't have like the best matchups, but this one was good. He was great. You can see a couple spots where I fell back and then took a lot of angle out of the car in order to try to catch back up to him. It is tough if you're on a sport and he's still faster than you. Then I would obviously switch to, I meant to say if he was on a street and he's still way faster than you are on a street tire, I would switch up to a sport tire so that you can catch up to him. Because if you can't catch up to him and he just keeps running away from you the whole run, it's just not going to get you enough points to move on, and you're going to lose that round. And once you lose the round, you're going back to the start, got to go through qualifying again. And these tournaments take a while. I mean, once you enter one of these top 32s, I would assume somewhere around the 20 to 30 minute mark is how long it takes to go from start to finish, between all the battles, qualifying, and everything like that. So you'll see, like I said, I had some good chases here. When I'm chasing, I do try to have a lot less hand braking. I know it may not necessarily seem that way, but if you're really close in chase and you need to make adjustments, it's actually better to just try to like let off throttle and let the car kind of settle itself down rather than pulling an e-brake, because pulling an e-brake will slow your momentum down, and then he'll start taking away and driving a further gap between you, and then it's harder for your car to get back on the acceleration and catch up to his door. So again, the biggest thing, having that door be right on his door, you're going to get so much more points. You're going to win every battle as long as you're right on him without touching him. As you can see there, I just tapped him and I lost my score streak. It brings your multiplier down. So the worst possible case scenario is if you tap them. If you don't tap them, you at least keep your 5 times multiplier once you get it in drift, and that'll help you big time. So if you're not super comfortable with being the uptight, close chasing, try to stay back a little bit further, but as long as you can get a full run without touching his door or touching his car and getting that default, you should be in pretty good shape, really. Here you can see I'm battling out an RX-8. This is the top 8 battle. I'm sorry that it paused in the middle. I ended up getting a phone call like right in the middle of this battle, so I had to take it and jump back in. So anyways, it can always be paused and resumed. Obviously the timers are tricky too, and then after I got off the phone call, I wasn't feeling it. I kind of messed up, and I figured you guys don't care to see the end part of a run where I pretty much just try to play catch up the entire time. Here's the second run of 3 chasing the RX-8. You can see I got up a little bit more on him, but I still didn't know his exact line that well since I had fallen so far behind on the first battle. And in most cases, I try to remember kind of, where they really slowed down, where they hit the throttle hard, where they tend to run away from me. And then in the next time around, like the third out of 3 battles here, I can kind of adjust my driving style to make sure that I know that when he comes into this corner, he brakes really hard. And I need to prepare for that so that I can kind of brake at the same time and get back on throttle at the same time as him so that I can maintain everything. Again, I messed up the third run on this guy chasing. I don't know what it was. It was just me in reality. But I did take a win with the one solid full run that I got. So now we're on to the final 4. I went up against a Phoenix NX. This guy was really fun to chase as well. He was on semi-slick tires. So naturally, like I said before, I upgraded to semi-slicks myself so that I could stick with him. Here in a great wide line, real smooth drifting. I was doing a really kind of a poor job chasing, in my opinion, on this one a little bit, but when you change the tires to a semi-slick, if you hop off throttle for too long or hold a handbrake for too long, your car will kind of just bog out and you'll lose the, way far behind. You'll end up dropping way back, and it's hard to get that speed and momentum to get back up on his door to get all the points you can. So this is the end of the first chase battle out of the 3 here. Here's number 2. This time I learned that if I shift to 4th and kind of run up on him a little bit faster off the bat, I could stick with him better on the entry, and in addition to that, kind of flowing back into the next turn. Because if you fall back on the first turn and you're trying to play catch up and you're running a shallower line than him, it's really hard to get back into that rhythm of kind of following his exact line and chasing at his speed and everything like that. So, the biggest tips to kind of circle back from the beginning, first of all, tires. You have to have the same tires. Second of all, if you fall way behind, don't bother drifting too much back there. I mean, you need to stay in drift a little bit to catch up, but you just want to straighten out and gun up to him so that you can get on his door. Third is to not use the handbrake more than you think you should. I mean, I use it a lot in chasing, I understand, but it really is better to try to let off throttle slightly and feather your throttle rather than going full throttle, handbrake, full throttle, handbrake. It doesn't make for as even of a flow. I did end up beating this guy, the Phoenix NX, so I moved on to the championship battle where we were battling for first place. This guy was in a Spectre RS. He was on I believe it was the semi-slick tires as well. So again, I stuck to the semi-slicks on mine, and this guy was really fun to drive against as well. Obviously, he made it to the championship, so he had to have a pretty solid drift line and good speed, and our cars matched up fairly well. He was actually a little bit faster than I was. It was a little bit harder to catch up for me on certain spots, but in general, he really ran a great lead run besides that nose tap you just saw there. That did mess me up pretty bad on a few of the chase runs because it's a very unnatural motion to have happen in the middle of, you know, a drift battle where his front bumper hits, his car kind of bounces straight back off of it, and then you have to kind of, you know, adjust accordingly. So you can see on the second run in that exact spot I was just talking about with the front bumper, I kind of prepared for that knowing that it was coming, and kind of braked up and fell back a little further knowing that when he got back on throttle he would kind of take off pretty quick. So here you can see we're coming around that corner where he bumps in. I stuck back, he hit it, and then I kind of came right up into his door. I did have to handbrake to fall back a little bit, and then of course it messed up my whole line. So wasn't able to catch up to him too well on this one, but we'll get him on the third one. So now the final battle of the whole deal. I was chasing him down. We had really close points when I went out to the menu to check, and I needed to get a little bit more in order to be only a couple hundred points ahead of him. So again, here's that corner, and this is what really was tricky, the trickiest part of this whole battle. And I fell back, he bounced off, and then I had to extra brake there so that I could transition and get right back on his door. So that's kind of the gist of it. I know it's not the most detailed, but if you guys have any more questions about it, please feel free to leave a comment below. I'd be happy to answer them. I respond fairly quickly to those, at least within a day typically. So you can see my points there, 28,076 versus his 27,005. I thought maybe he was going to buy another attempt and come back and take the victory over me, but he didn't do that, and I don't like that feature anyway. I hate using it. So won the battle. I got 7,000 gold, or silver, I guess, technically. But that's it for today's video, guys. I just wanted to do kind of a raw top 32 coverage. So hit that like button, subscribe, and we will see you next time. Thanks for watching.